I'm back from NAB 2023, and what an all-time experience that was. Getting some hands-on time with the newest gear and lighting, and geeking out with fellow lighting nerds has been the highlight of the year so far for me. Let's talk about the 5 pieces of lighting gear that have me most excited. Stick around to the end. I've got some honorable mentions, as well as a few wish list items that I'd love to see for next year. First up, at the creator level of the market are the new Amaran 150C and 300C lights. These are both RGB WW cob units with an operating CCT range of 2700 Kelvin to 7500 Kelvin and a build quality that you've come to expect from Amaran. My favorite thing about these is the controls on the back of the unit have been simplified for ease of use. There's no menu or effects selection on the back of the unit anymore. Instead, just 2 knobs help control each option of the CCT and HSI modes. A Bluetooth reset button establishes a connection with the Sidus Link app to access effects and any other options. Some other design upgrades for these units are all metal Bowens mount to withstand larger modifiers and a metal tilting bracket to help support that weight. The bracket also features an umbrella mount, allowing the use of inexpensive modifiers if you're just getting started. Next on the list, the IntelliTech LightCloth 3.0 Mega 8. This is a 3x5 flexible panel unit that's fully RGB WW with an operating CCT range from 3000 to 10,000 Kelvin. Sliding in at just $2,250, this is a crazy price for a 400 watt unit in this form factor. If this one's too big for you, IntelliTech has a series of these panels in a variety of sizes to suit the space you're working in. I could definitely see myself making some custom muslin diffusers for this and using it as a key light for jobs. 5 feet is wide enough to get a really soft look, and being only 3 feet tall means it's easier to move around in tight spaces than an equivalent 5-foot softbox. It could even go horizontally over the camera to really wrap around the talent, while still providing eyeline for the producer to talk with the interviewee. The Mega 8 also has an available pancake and skirt for when it's rigged overhead as a space light. Totaling at 13 pounds between the head unit and modifier, this might be the most inexpensive way to get this large and light of an overhead source. For those of you on the go, the ballast also has space for 2 V-mount batteries to power it. The only downsides I saw on this one were I'd like to see an operating range to at least 2700 Kelvin, since that's where most DPs I work with put their tungsten fixtures at, and I'd love it if this unit came with wireless DMX. These next 2 are tied because I can't decide which one I want, so I think I'll take them both for different reasons. These units are the Felix G3 and the Neo Color by Datolight. Known mostly for Fresnels, Felix has decided to put their optical precision to use on a 90-watt spotlight unit they're calling the G3. It features a rotatable lens, so the user can freely position their cuts or gobos however they'd like. The neat thing about this, or any of the other lights from Felix, is they pair with another new item in Felix's lineup, this DMX and power enabled track, so a studio can reposition their lights overhead without a mess of cables, all while still receiving power and DMX signal. Having a few tracks of this running along the ceiling would be a dream setup in a YouTube studio someday. I'm here, Felix. Let's chat. The other option in this range, the Neo Color by Datolight, is a collaboration between them and ProLight. ProLight lent their color science and LEDs, and Dato supplied the lighting optics, making this a beast of a unit that's the best of both worlds. With full spectrum RGB ACL diodes, a 6:1 flood to spot ratio, CRMX, and a lineup of accessories like projection mounts, barn doors, and softboxes, this light is the big brother to the Aperture 60 line of products, and I want one in my kit yesterday. Next up, another RGB ACL unit, the Kelvin EPOS 600. This is a 600 watt unit, go figure, with a CCT range of 2000 Kelvin to 20,000 Kelvin. With an IP rating of 54, built-in CRMX, an all aluminum housing for both the head and ballast units, and included 26-foot head and power cables, this light is clearly designed for longevity in a professional environment. And if you take a look at it, it's absolutely gorgeous. They've clearly paid attention to detail, and there's a reason they won a Red Dot Award recently for the EPOS 300, the baby brother to their new 600. 2 of the neater features on this unit that I hadn't seen on others are the magnetic LED modifiers and touchscreen functionality. The magnetic modifiers allows the operator to change the spread of the beam angle in a matter of seconds. This light has a native beam angle of 93 degrees, but with the dome diffuser that spreads out to almost 180, allowing a much better fill for modifiers like lanterns or space lights. Touchscreen on the ballast is also a welcome addition in a world where sometimes a swing or a PA is helping me operate my lights. Rather than figuring out which knob serves what function, they can just drag the slider. This light is great, but I would like to see them come out with a spotlight and Fresnel for these units. I consider them to be must-have accessories for my point source units these days, and Kelvin hasn't announced them yet. Lastly, for those of us that like to dream big, CreamSource has released a system for rigging their Vortex units together, what they're calling the Link system. Honestly, I may never operate the Link system at the scale that I operate at, but as Vortexes are being seen more and more in large-scale rigs on Hollywood film sets, it's good to see CreamSource responding to the needs of the rig and gaffers who use their gear most. 5 is a nice round number, but that doesn't mean there wasn't anything else worth seeing at this year's NAB. Here's some items outside of the top 5 that I think also warrant being on your radar. The Spotlight SE by Amaran is a lighter version of the OG Spotlight from Aputure. This unit has all the same features as the original: 4 cutting blades, a closable iris ring, and multiple lens options, but it uses the smaller gobo sizes like the mini Spotlight. I would like to see the focusing element not be notched though before release, as I found it difficult to get sharp cuts at the booth while I was playing with the unit. The cuts that I did achieve, however, looked nice with minimal chromatic aberration, even when creating hard to make colors like purples. If they really want to impress me, then make the system rotatable like the Felix G3, and this would be the perfect spotlight for 300 watt units and below in the Aputure Amaran lineup. This next one's geared more towards control of lighting, but I'm stoked on the new Chimera Octoplus 6. It has a variable density inner diffusion baffle that helps increase the uniformity of the output across the front panel. Consistent output of light across the beam angle helps me control the lighting in the scene better, and a 6-foot softbox is just as soft as a 6x6 rag, but a heck of a lot easier to set up. Lastly, I got the chance to see the new active diffusion panel by Luminarc. This is kind of neat. It uses electric fields to align charged particles suspended in fluid. With no charge, the solution is opaque, and as you increase the charge, the particles in the panel align and the panel becomes transparent. What's really neat about this is that they claim they've solved issues with this liquid affecting the coloration of the light, so what you put into it should be what you're getting out. And eventually, they'll even have a DMX module so you can cue diffusion changes in real time. New gear is cool and all, but let's talk about some standardization I'd like to see happen across the industry over the next year. The biggest win for me would be to see no more color modes. HSI and CCT should be blended into one mode that allows all color control. We're entering an era where pure output is no longer the biggest factor in deciding which light to buy, and color rendition is taken over. I've already seen this condensed lighting mode on Astera's Titan tubes for a few years now, so I know it's possible. It's just about implementation. I'd also like to see a new standardized mounting system that's better than Bowen's. I don't really know what it's going to be, and I don't understand intellectual property law, but if everyone could have some type of locking system like ProLight has for more secure connections and better optics, then I would be a happy gaffer for sure. If it included some type of electronic pass-through, like Ari has on their Orbiter unit, so that we can start to implement DMX control over our modifiers, then that's even better. Lastly, I'd love to see daylight SSI scores of 90+ creep into a larger portion of manufacturers' lineups. The iFootage Anglerfish lineup, as well as the new Amaran 200S series of lights, have shown that manufacturers are capable of these scores. It's just a matter of building and getting them into our hands at this point. Let me know down in the comments which of these you're most excited for, or if there's something that you saw that I didn't mention at all. A really hearty thank you to everyone who helped to make my first NAB such a memorable time for me. This gear is really cool, but it's the community that I found there that's the most fulfilling part. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.